Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from FFScout as we look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 13. We'll do this via the goals and assists imminent tables, which use the FFScout's members area stats to try and predict future returns. And we will also focus today on this season's top talismen. Those players who are most involved in their team goals. I remember when I was doing the Scoutcast, Andy hated me saying talismen for some reason, probably because he's a teacher and it's grammatically wrong. But he's not here now, so I'm going to say it, talismen. In addition, we will take any questions you have at the end of the stream, so have a think about those in the live chat. So post those towards the end. My name is Joe, and joining me to unearth some of those under-the-radar gems from today's tables is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. International break has dragged on a little bit, hasn't it? I think for everyone. But looking forward to Game Week 13 and City Liverpool in particular, which gets us started on Saturday. So, yeah, still a bit unsure on kind of transfers for the week, the team. So it'd be good to chat everything through in the next hour and a bit.
Excellent. Just before we have a look at those tables and welcome those who joined us early in the live chat, understand there is a bit of an offer going on for Black Friday at Fantasy Football Scout. What's that about, Tom?
Yeah, so there's a Black Friday deal over at Scout. If you sign up as a member on Black Friday, so I think it's from Thursday midnight onwards, basically. If you sign up then, you'll get a free gift from the Good Team on Paper website, a gift up to £12, I think. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen them before, Joe, but Good Team on Paper, they produce really nice kind of sports prints, mugs and hoodies. That kind of thing. It's the prints that caught my eye. If you go in, you can type in your team. So I did it for Villa. Okay. Get these really nice prints with all the classic kits over the years. Ooh. So if you're a bit older like me, looking back on all the 90s kits and things like that, or you can pick like the 1982 European Champions team and get all a little bit all laid out. It's really nice for your office or your home. So if you sign up for that on Friday, you get a free gift from them as well as the Scout membership. I think you can do it for about £3.41 per month at the moment. And you could obviously get, in addition to that, all the Opta stats, the tables we use on these videos. You can create your own members articles. So if you are thinking of signing up, Friday's the day to do it.
Okay, yeah, I was, while you were talking there, I was just thinking, Brighton's 1983 Felix Brewery kit in their FA Cup losing season.
Well, I think the Villa one I saw immediately, and the one that jumps out is the Muller sponsor. Yeah. That big red Muller yogurt one. But then I prefer the Mighty Copiers kits.
The one I won't get is the Brighton one where they were... I can't remember. I think it was Samtex or actually it could have been Tesco's, and it was blue and white stripes, and it was the old Tesco's logo at that time in the 80s and 90s. And I remember one of the reviews said Brighton turned up looking like Tesco carrier bags and playing like them. Okay. Welcome those joining us early in the live chat. Andy, Brian, A. Dawson, Rixia, Victor, who's joining us from Kenya, Multi-Level, Lee, Nick, Lee, and many more. Brian has given us the useful phrase of Talis people, so we might use that as well. The best Talis people will be discussed a bit later. But let's have a look at those goals and assists imminent tables. So last week we looked at how we got on last week. So have a look back. It's all there on the video and podcast as well, how we got on last week's tables. So that was more of a review about Game Week 12 and a little look ahead at Game Week 13. This is all about Game Week 13 in earnest. Top of the goals imminent table, Game Week 13. Absolutely no surprise to see Darwin Núñez there for Liverpool. 4 big chances missed. He has had 5 big chances. He has scored. He's had 10 shots on target, 18 shots in total. 11 of those 18 shots have been at close range. His next opponent is Manchester City. But as we will discuss in our team reveal video, we've got a lot of away players. Liverpool actually quite good away. Darwin Núñez, he should have got at least one and a third goal, whatever that is, but at least one more goal over the last 4 game weeks. I don't know. With Watkins having slightly tricky fixtures over the next few, Watkins, Darwin Núñez could be a popular move. But yeah, he's certainly in the running, isn't he, Darwin Núñez?
Yeah, he's right up there. He's a great option. He feels like he's become first choice this season, which doesn't mean he's going to play every single game, but I think he's certainly at the front of the queue. Now, Uruguay play Bolivia tonight. I think it's an 11:30 UK time kickoff. So there is a bit of a risk for this weekend. He's been benched in both of the games following the international breaks this season so far. But then it's Fulham and Sheffield United. So there's good fixtures after. I think he might start V-City, given the magnitude of the game. I think they could use Gakpo, but I think he's maybe better in a match where they're expected to keep quite a bit of possession. I don't think that's the case at City. So I think he could actually be a really useful player for them to start if he's ready on Saturday. See what Klopp says in his presser. It is risky, though, bringing him in, but then we might get a team link before. So it feels like a transfer which could maybe wait till 14. But it depends what position you're in.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's certainly tempting. I've got Watkins in my team. Solanke, if I want to save some money, is in the running to perhaps replace him. Keeping Watkins, who is also rather good, is another option. And I'll definitely want him in game week 18. So might save myself a transfer down the line. Darwin Núñez obviously is in the running. And Isak is back. The latest is from Newcastle is that Wilson is injured for 6 weeks. And Isak's pretty much nearing a return, isn't he?
Yeah, I had a quick look earlier. We obviously haven't heard from Eddie Howe for a while, but there has been some sightings of Isak back on the grass, I think. Now, whether or not that means he's involved in full team training, I'm not sure. We're recording this on Tuesday. By the time we get to Thursday, Friday, we should know a bit more about that. But of course, we've always said if one of those Newcastle strikers is out, the other one becomes a very good option, albeit there is a lot of very big Champions League games coming up for Newcastle as well.
Okay.
And Gordon could cover up front like he did prior to the international break.
Definitely. Just before we move on, just a few more comments in the live chat. Just where people are joining us from around the world as well. Leroy is tuning in from South Africa as well. So we've got Kenya and South Africa represented. We also have Roynish from Germany as well. And there's also an update in the South Korea-China game that's going on as we speak. Yeah. Son brace. South Korea are leading 2-0 at halftime, as you would expect against China. Son brace. So for those of us fielding him in game week 13, that could be good. Although it depends which, where the glass is full, half full, empty. He's travelling back from across the world. He could be knackered as well.
And he's playing Villa, so
definitely.
My loyalties are split with that one, but that's another one for the team reveal.
That's it. The battle of the high lines, as we said. The formation's going to be all the players, bar the goalkeepers, on the halfway line, and then it's just going to be whoever chases the striker and catches them in defence.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so we'll move down to Zaniolo. I think he scored for Italy, or rather, Italy progressed in the. I don't think he actually scored for Italy, but he was in that side. Italy got through, confirmed for the Euros there. So we're going to sketch over him because he's sharing minutes with Bailey, isn't he, with Villa?
Tielemans played the role in the last match, so way too much uncertainty there.
Well, he's sharing it with two other players then. But nevertheless, he has missed a couple of chances. He's had 9 shots over the last 4 game weeks, but very limited minutes at times. Willian, we've mentioned as well, Fulham. He's just had a couple of shots on target, 9 shots there. Worth mentioning, they've got Wolves next. They've got a few favourable fixtures, Fulham. So, but they're just not scoring enough goals. They've got Wolves, Nottingham Forest and West Ham all in the next 4. And they also have Nottingham Forest way down in game week 20. So mixed fixtures there. But it's Alexander-Arnold, perhaps we should focus on. 7.9 million. He's got this sort of inverted fullback type midfield role. But there we go. Big chances missed, none. Because he's had no big chances over the last 4 game weeks. Goals scored, none. Shots on target, none. Shots inside the box, none. 9 shots, though. So that's why he's on here, because he's had 9 shots and he was expected to marginally possibly get another goal. But yeah, I mean, these are not very good stats for him in terms from an FPL point of view. Isn't that right?
Well, I think a lot of his threat is from dead ball situations, and I haven't got the stats in front of me, but I'd imagine a large chunk of those 9 shots was free kicks. That's always been the case with him. I do worry a little bit this year. He seems to the dynamic in the midfield has changed a little bit this year. You've got Szoboszlai, who's also on this table, which we'll talk about in a minute. Got McAllister in there, and it feels like he might be the assister a little bit more so this year. If that's the case, then 7.9 is obviously a hell of a lot of money to be spending on him, especially when you've got kind of Tsimikas. Okay, he's not nailed, but he's a lot cheaper. I think he's 4.7 now. So I don't really think we need to be looking at him yet. But it's really interesting that he is on this table because it shows there's a threat there, albeit from range.
Okay, more people from around the world are joining us in the live chat as well. A couple from Canada. Adrian from the very easy to pronounce Toronto, and Yemi from Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan.
Where's that, Joe?
And Paul from Vermont, so just over the border in good old US of A. And Keith Hill, nearer to home in Scotland, joining us. So welcome everyone there. Szoboszlai is next on our list. No big chances, missed, therefore no goals. A couple of shots on target. Once again, his long range. He's had one shot inside the box, but all 8 of his 9 shots have actually come from long range there. So similar picture with Alexander-Arnold, really. We did think he could be an FPL asset, but as it's transpiring, as we're getting a bit more information, it's really those front players, Salah, Darwin Núñez, Diaz, Gakpo possibly. It's those are the ones that are going to get us the goals and the assists. Szoboszlai might get us a return. So yeah, I
think when the fixtures are great for Liverpool, I don't mind him as a second Liverpool asset because he's got the minutes, which some of the others haven't. He plays 90 minutes every game pretty much, but there isn't a lot of goal threat. I think he's only had 3 shots in the box all season. So is he doing enough? Because he's up against basically Mbomo, he's up against Bowen, he's up against those kind of players. Is he doing enough at the moment? Probably not to challenge them.
Okay, Omar's just joined us from Egypt, by the way, in the live chat. This is a truly global event. The next one I've highlighted up is Edouard at Crystal Palace. 5.5 million. No big chance to miss. He's had one big chance and he's taken it. He scored. He's had 4 shots on target. His next opponent is Luton, and he's had 11 shots. 8 inside the box, so pretty much exactly what you want from a striker. Mostly at close range, a lot on target, and he's having a big chance as well. Crystal Palace, looking at further investment as well. He's had so he's got Luton next, then he's got West Ham, then Bournemouth. Then it gets a bit tricky. 16-17 with Liverpool, Manchester City, and Brighton, Chelsea, Brentford. So it gets mixed, but in the short term, he's one to get in. I think if Watkins was injured now and I was looking for a replacement in just terms of getting some returns now and sort of moving around that role, which I have done, which I've had Evan Ferguson in that role with his hat-trick. Yeah. I think I would go for Edouard now. I think he's really good for Palace, isn't he? Yeah,
I think short term, he's a really good pick. They've got Eze back. They've got Olise back. There's loads more creativity in that team. And I'd say the same with Eze. It feels like a 3-game week pick because after that, the fixtures get really tough for them. I think it's for quite a few weeks. It isn't like they've just got 1 or 2 tough games. It kind of extends to 5, 6, maybe more. So I do think it's a shorter term pick, but that might suit some setups, and they might have another player on somebody else a few weeks down the line, and it could work out well. But Luton, West Ham, Bournemouth. Pretty good run, isn't it? It's probably the best from an attacking perspective, albeit Luton are better at home. It's still, you look at the 3 fixtures together and they're really, really positive.
Yeah, I do think it is. I think if you're looking at a 4-3-3 or you're looking to save a bit of money, or perhaps you've got another striker, Alvarez perhaps, and you want to move them on, or rather another forward. It's just that run, Luton, West Ham, Bournemouth. That looks like really strong. That looks really strong for returns. And then from game week 16, then you can hop on to another player. So you can perhaps move up or down in terms of price, whichever's convenient for you. But yeah, I do think Edouard and Solanke are the sort of
Yeah,
cut price strikers to get at the moment.
I agree.
But I imagine we'll talk about Solanke when we talk about Talis people in a second.
Yeah.
Kuna at Wolves at 5.5 million. I mean, Pedro Neto was the one, but it now injured, could be back soon.
Yeah.
Wang as well, who's also incidentally playing in South Korea as we speak, or rather playing against China. But nevertheless, Kuna, let's mention him here. He's got Fulham up next. Shots on target, 8 shots inside the box. So this is really good. 13 shots he's had, and he's had 8 of those inside the box. He's marginally underperforming. He has actually scored over the last 4 game weeks. And Wolves' fixtures are pretty nice, actually. They got Fulham next, and then they got Arsenal game week 14, but then they got Burnley and Nottingham Forest, West Ham and Chelsea, Brentford and Everton. So it gets a bit mixed, but there's that nice Fulham, and then it gets mixed with Arsenal, but then Burnley and Nottingham Forest. So with those 3 out of the next 4, really good fixtures for Wolves. I'm very tempted to get a Wolves player. But just for this little run, because there's a lot of value there. But yeah, if you weren't to go for Kuna, with any other Wolves players you'd consider?
I'd be looking at Huang, I think. His role in the team, I think Cunha helps him. He drops deep quite a bit, and he's the one getting into the box a lot. If Neto's back as well, I haven't had an update on him, but we will get one later in the week. If he's back, it all looks really positive for them. I think Wolves have been the poster boys of this show a little bit this year, haven't they, Joe? Because they've always had a lot of players on these lists. And now people are finally starting to realise that Wolves as an attacking unit are a lot better this year than they were last year. I wouldn't go for Cunha. I would go for one of the midfielders over him. Okay. But interesting to see him on here.
Yeah, Martin in the live chat's pointing out that Fulham are without Palhinha, who is a absolute tackle monster in midfield for those that play the Sky game. So yeah, without him, they are lacking in defence. So Wolves attackers could be a good move. And Kreppel joins us from Calgary, Canada. It's very Canadian themes as well. So a lot from Africa, a lot from North America so far. Moving down the list, we've got Fernandes at Manchester United. Once again, excelled for Portugal. Always impressive at Manchester United, but as we'll find out, he's not the talisman at Manchester United. He's another player, a far more exciting player, particularly for one of those. I can't remember his name. Oh, but particularly for Keith in the live chat, is the a talisman of choice for Manchester United. But nevertheless, Fernandes is there. 4 shots on target. He's got Everton up next. Shots inside the box, just 3. 11 shots in total. And he's marginally, if you can believe that, overperforming. So this was why we're not having him at Manchester United. It's probably less him. It's more just Manchester United, isn't it? Because he seems to be doing okay in Portugal.
Yeah, I mean, the worry is if you've got a creator in like Fernandes, but then you've got players like Højlund and Rashford who aren't playing or converting a lot of the chances, then it's wasted. Yeah. I don't think the fixtures are good for United either. I look at those and they've got Everton away, and this is going to be an Everton team who this is their first match since the 10-point deduction. God, yeah. I mean, Goodison Park is going to be rocking on Sunday for that one, isn't it? And it's going to be a tough match for United. They then go to Newcastle. They then got Chelsea. I think they've got Liverpool a couple of weeks after that. So it's a tough run for United. Maybe they'll do better in the tougher games because they had the easier fixtures and it just wasn't happening for them. No. Maybe if other teams are taking the initiative against them, it might help them a bit. But even so, I think that Fernandes at what is he, 8? Even at 8.3 now, you'd put players like Bowen ahead of him.
Yeah. So as you said, that Newcastle fixture game week 14 away, and then they got Chelsea, Bournemouth at home in game week 16. Game week 18 they got West Ham away, and it's just a mixed bag, and there's just so many better options there. So I can't see people going for it. Alvarez is interesting. So obviously he's playing on international duty as a massive game against Liverpool up next. He's been filling that Kevin De Bruyne sort of advanced midfield role. He has scored in those last 4 game weeks. He's had 3 shots on target, 4 inside the box and 10 shots in total. Marginally overperforming goal-wise, but it remains to be seen. We'll put the assist imminent table up in a sec and see if he's on that as well, because that's probably where his main threat will be for us. But once again, Nunes, Watkins, Edwards, Solanke, there's a lot of attacking options who are a bit cheaper or a bit more prolific than Alvarez. So whilst he's not a bad option, there's probably better, isn't there?
Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment. I think you've got to also think about the game week 18 blank as well. I think most of us are probably going to be holding Haaland and Mbomo through that one. So I don't think you want an Alvarez on there as well on your bench. Fixtures, I mean, it's Man City. They can blow away anybody, can't they? But Liverpool, Spurs, Villa in the next 3 isn't an easy run. And he is playing in more of that creator role this year. So I'm not going to ever say Alvarez is a bad pick. Because he's not. He's probably never going to be a priority sell, but I do think you could probably get an equivalent amount of points, maybe a bit more for a cheaper player at the moment.
More from the live chat on Talismen or Talis People. If a team has 2 Talismen, they would be Talismandum, says Jamie. And Alex points out that Fernandes could perhaps be in everyone's team Gameweek 21 with AFCON and Asia Cup start as well. So there'll be a lot of cash floating around in midfield. And so people would think, well, hang on a minute, I might as well get this guy in.
Yeah.
But it remains to be seen whether Manchester United are primed for investment then.
There's a good article on our site as well about AFCON and the Asia Cup and the implications, and Neil put it all together, and it's very informative. It'll give you an idea of the game weeks to be concerned about, so have a look at that.
Okay, let's move on to assist imminent. I'm going to go sort of lower down the table first, because Alvarez is indeed there. So those who have got Alvarez are thinking, I'm going to remove him. Well, if you don't think he's going to get the minutes because of international duty, perhaps, but it's a really, really important game against Liverpool, with Arsenal as well. It's arguable this is a sort of top of the table, could be, this could define Manchester City's season, winning these types of games. And Alvarez has taken 26 corners in his last 4 game weeks. That's huge. He's created 8 chances. He has scored, and he has got an assist, so 2 returns. He's had 4 successful crosses. Basically, Manchester City are really prolific attackers. That is of no surprise. So those removing Alvarez against Liverpool for another player, bear in mind you are removing a player that is on the goals and assists imminent table, and is not a bad option.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, would I take...
I think Tom has just momentarily...
Pretty key player in that City,
Sorry, we just momentarily lost you there, Tom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've just got a little notification saying the internet connection's unstable. So apologies if hopefully it'll be okay. I don't see any reason for it to be a problem, but I'm not sure how much you picked up. But Alvarez, you've got a little bit of a minutes risk this weekend because of internationals, but he's become such a key part in that City team that I would be surprised if he doesn't start. And I'm trying to think, would I sell him this week? Well, you've got Solanke, who's got that really nice fixture, but I'm not sure if I wouldn't mind holding Alvarez this weekend and then maybe reassessing.
Yeah, definitely Manchester. I mean, the fixtures are almost irrelevant really, but they've got Liverpool, and then after that they've got Tottenham, who play that high line with 0 defence. Which is quite good for attackers. Then they got Aston Villa, who also play a high line, and then Luton, who just I don't know what they play. They play a line somewhere, and Crystal Palace, and then they got that blank in game week 18. So, and then after that, game week 19 and 20, they got Everton and Sheffield United. So, Man City's fixtures not to be sniffed at either. But you can argue they're almost irrelevant there. Martin has pointed out in the live chat that Alt Nori got his 4th booking after being subbed for celebrating the winner. For those considering Alt Nori, who is on this table as well, and I am considering him, but perhaps with the, I must admit I hadn't quite remembered the four bookings that he'd got, which would mean 1 more and he's suspended for a match. That could be exactly when we want him. You would hope it would be against Fulham, because you wouldn't field him against Arsenal anyway. In game week 14. Yeah, I'll go on to Alt-Nori here. He's also on this table, a bit further down, but sixth placed here. But he's had created 7 chances. He's had 6 corners, 3 successful crosses. And I was having a look. Wolves are of late have been playing more of a wing-back system. So Alt-Nori's been much more advanced, and he's actually one of. As I'll talk about in the team reveal video, which will be out this week, he's actually one of currently the most attacking defenders there are, and that's alongside the likes of Trippier and Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
So he is an option, but that's 4 bookings. I think that's the thing, isn't it?
It's a concern, yeah. I like him. I like him whenever I watch him play. I think even in a back 4 system, I think he can still offer a bit of threat. And they can still play a back 3 even with Neto back. I think that they've still played a back 3 with him and Hwang then flanking like Cunha. So he can still, there's options even once he's back. He's taken quite a few shots like you just touched on just then. But he's probably going to get booked in the next 5 or 6 games once playing the role that he does against quick wingers. And then, if it happens in game week 14, if he gets booked at Fulham, you're happy, aren't you? But if he's going to miss one of those Burnley or Forest games, you're going to be gutted because that's one of the key reasons you're bringing him in. So there is risk.
Yeah.
It just depends. Would you prefer to play a bit safer and go for somebody like Kilman? Who I'm just going to check that I'm not recommending another player on 4 bookings. No, we're okay with Kilman. So yeah, it's a consideration, isn't it?
I think with the other Wolves defenders, you're sort of looking at with Hwang and possibly Neto coming back soon. They're going to get the bonus. Sarr might get bonus, and you look at Alt-Nori, might get you assists as well. But I look at someone like Kilman. I mean, I could be wrong here, but Kilman and some of the other defenders, I'm thinking they're either going to get me 1 or 2 points, or they're going to get me 6. So 6 is sort of their ceiling.
I think that's fair.
Whereas Alt-Nori, he could in these favourable fixtures ease out a 9-12 point return. When
absolutely.
you field him, but it's that risk of 4 bookings there.
It maybe depends on the makeup of the rest of your squad. If you've got 4 other playing defenders and you wouldn't mind playing them in one of those weeks, worst case scenario, he gets suspended. Then, but it depends how many players. If you've got players like Tsimikas, Livramento, who maybe aren't 100% nailed to start every single game, having Nori as well, that might be a bit of a risk if you've got Charlie Taylor as well, for example. But just something to have a look at it. It still might be worth it, but something to be aware of.
I'm definitely tempted there. Luca Dean is top of here. 8 chances created, 7 successful crosses, no assists or goals last 4 game weeks. But he should have got at least 1 assist over that period as well. Is he holding his place at the moment? Is Moreno back? What's the latest there with Villa?
Alex Moreno's back, and he was first choice last year, but Luca Dean's been playing very, very well this year. And I think that Alex Moreno, my guess would be he might get a few more minutes in Europe in the 6th match in the group, potentially. But I'd be very surprised if Luca Dean gets dropped anytime soon. No.
Okay, well, we've had a lot in the live chat about Alt-Nori, actually. I'm just going to relay it out because it's a shame for people to miss out on this. It's Martin Keenan in the live chat as well. He's pointing out that Alt-Nori not only is on 4 bookings, but he did make his full Algeria debut last week and kept a clean sheet and played the full 90 minutes. He's also saying there's speculation around him joining Liverpool as well. So there's lots of interest in him as well. But Martin also points out that Totti made a Portugal debut too. Wolves' defence is decent. He says Doherty could come in for the suspended Dawson. Full of the Wolves news here. Kilman, he's saying his England class rarely gets booked. Semedo is on 4 bookings, he was saying, plus can't shoot for. And then he says rude words. Great engine, though. Got a foot like a tractor engine, as Alan Partridge would have said. So I didn't want all of that good, valuable information from Martin to go to not be heard or seen. Alexander-Arnold is next. We've spoken about him already, but I'll read out his stats. 9 chances created, 13 corners, 7 successful crosses. I mean, this is really what you're going to be expecting. If you think Liverpool are going to get a clean sheet, it's really that assist potential rather than those sort of long-range speculative shots. He looked sharp for England against North Macedonia, although England did struggle there. But Alexander-Arnold still looked good. Great. I mean, he did this. He done some incredible passing during that game, as he always does. But yeah, you feel that at the moment it's more sort of the assister. He might pass to someone out on the wing, and then the winger might get to Darwin Núñez, that kind of thing.
That's my kind of feeling. I mean, the assists haven't quite been there this year so far. One to monitor. I just think the price is, you need Alexander-Arnold to really be bringing in those big hauls to make it worthwhile, and I'm just not sure that's going to happen.
Okay. Scott has asked whether we put big chances added to this graphic. I think chances created with assists imminent, but we've also got the expected assists delta stats there, so that sort of covers off the big chances there. But we do put big chances for the goals imminent as well. But yeah, those sort of expected stats sort of cover that off there. So if they're doing well on that, they're sort of underperforming, which is what this is measured by in terms of expected assist stats. Then you can assume that they are creating chances that are big. Next up is Martinelli. 12 chances created, 11 corners, 10 successful crosses. These are great stats. A lot of the play with Arsenal is coming out on the wings, especially with Jesus not there. Is he still in your side, and is he going to remain in your side?
Well, Jesus being back in training makes me want to keep Martinelli a bit longer. He's really disappointed for me. I brought him in on a game week 10 wild card, and he blanked at home to Sheffield United and then at home to Burnley as well. So part of me wants to just kind of get rid of him now because I've given him an opportunity. But yeah, Jesus being back, and I think the fixtures are really good for Arsenal attackers after Brentford. So they play Wolves, Luton, Villa and Brighton. And I think some of those games could really suit Martinelli. Yeah. So I'm in that kind of position at the moment where maybe I try and get a Dingra up to Mbomo, who feels really important from game week 14, and I hold on to Martinelli. And we'll chat about that in the team reveal video. I kind of worry that I'll remove Martinelli now when now might the time to just have a bit of patience with him.
Okay, lots of love in the live chat for Porro. I welcome that as a Porro owner. I fielded him last week. Very pleased with his assist until I obviously benched Simicast's 15 points to play him. But nevertheless, yes, Porro is a great option. And he's not showing up on here because he is delivering or has done over the last 4 game weeks. He is also more likely to be on set pieces. Now, Maddison is out for a while. So yeah, Porro's a keep. If you do have him, and definitely one to consider as well if you're looking to remove cash. Goodmanson at Burnley, I'll sort of sketch over because I don't think people are going to go for a 4.8 million Burnley player. But Burnley's fixtures nevertheless are good with West Ham, Sheffield United, Wolves, Brighton, Everton, Fulham. These are good from an attacking point of view, but it's Burnley and they're just not cutting it. 11 corners, 8 chances created, 8 successful crosses. Great stats. But if you think Burnley are going to be anything other than a championship side this season in the Premier League, probably best avoided. Hughes at Crystal Palace, once again, there are other options there. He's similarly priced to Cole Palmer, a Dingra at Brighton. People aren't going to go for Hughes, 4.9 million. But nevertheless, there's 11 corners, 7 chances created, 5 successful crosses. He's exactly the kind of player we can get smug points for when we say, oh yeah, we said everyone to get Hughes. But yeah, he is on this table. Nori, we've mentioned extensively here. Martin's given us practically his birthday and everything about him so far in the live chat. So we've mentioned him, but I'll just cover him off. 7 chances created, 6 corners. Salah is next, still on the assist imminent. He's not delivering for us in terms of assists, but he is in goals. So he's first started the season as the assist guy. Now he's the goal guy. However, Darwin Núñez, who's also the goal guy, as goals imminent table showed us. But nevertheless, Salah, 9 chances created, 5 goals he scored. So that's why he's not on the goals imminent table. They've arrived with just 1 successful cross. So Salah's not crossing. He's maybe getting the ball in a wide area, and he's just going in and trying to shoot for it. But he's certainly not crossing, but he might be passing, I guess, at close range to Darwin Núñez. Is that the sort of way it's panning out for Salah?
Yeah, I suppose that Darwin coming in really affects that whole attacking setup. But Salah, for me, feels like equal kind of part creator, part goal scorer now. He's got loads of strings to his bow, loads of routes to points. And he's probably going to be heavily back captain in game week 14 against Fulham at home. City have got Tottenham that week, so you could go for Haaland, but I do think that Salah will probably be the main captain.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to hang around on this table for long.
No.
It feels like, and he tends to do well against City, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He tends to. I think he's returned in 6 league matches in a row against Man City. So I don't. Captaincy is really tough this week. I think I'd back Haaland over Salah if I was going to go for somebody in that game. But playing Salah feels fine for me this week because he could get a bit of joy up against Ake or Guardiola, whoever's on that left side.
Yeah, I mean, as we were talking in our team reveal video, I've done some stats about away day players, and and it's a bit of a spoiler, there's a hell of a lot of Liverpool players on it who are very good playing away. They play Manchester City away next, so worth mentioning there. Pereira at Fulham, this last 4 game weeks. I'll mention him as well. I don't think many people will go for him, but 11 chances created, 13 corners, 6 successful crosses. I thought he was actually injured for some reason. So, yeah, Pereira, I don't think people are going to go. Fulham attack is just sort of a no-go, really, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, Jimenez scored at Villa Park just before the international break, but yeah, I think it's the same with Villian, isn't it? I don't think anybody's going to go there at the moment. When you've got Cole Palmer at 5.2, given that Chelsea's fixtures improving 16, he's on penalties. It's very difficult for these type of players to kind of get in on the act.
Yeah. Jota's next up on the list. We've already mentioned Alvarez, sorry. So we've already mentioned him and his stats. 26 corners for him. But Jota's next. 7 chances created. No corners, though. Couple of goals. No successful crosses. He's not crossing when he's on the pitch. It's just minutes, really. He's not number one. It's Darwin up front. Salah on the right, and Diaz on the left is the favourite one, but Jota might get some minutes. And he certainly delivers with 2 goals last 4 game weeks when he does get those minutes, but I don't think people are going to go there. So let's move on to the top Talismen, blokes, the best team blokes in game weeks 1 to 12. So a few caveats here. When it says goal involvement percentage, that's percentage of the time they're on the pitch as well. So this isn't the percentage of all of their teams' goals. It's whenever they are on the pitch there. Also, I've removed Lyle Foster, who was in fact top for Burnley. They scored for so few, but Foster's been involved in virtually all of their goals. But I removed him because he's absent at the moment on some extended leave. And I've also removed M. Ferguson because he's looking like he's definitely injured for Game Week 13 at least, possibly for longer. He was injured again on international duty. But his goal involvement was 50%. He's been involved in half goals. But is he really a Talis bloke? I don't think so, because you don't know when he's going to be on the pitch. And a Talis bloke has got to be someone who starts a lot, or is at least getting very, very, very significant minutes. Talis lads, Historia Films calls them. So yeah, these are Talis lads. At the top, 67% goal involvement is Morris at Luton. I don't think that will surprise anyone. Luton aren't scoring much. The Talis bloke up front is going to get those ones. So corners 0, crosses only 4, 3 goals across 12 starts. He's one. I mean, I got him in for when they had a double game week, and I think that's probably the rule with Morris and Luton is consider for a double game week, but outside of that, I don't think you're going to get too much from them, especially because with their fixtures next 4, they've got Brentford, Arsenal, and Man City. They've also got Newcastle if you extend that out to the next 6. So not great fixtures, not scoring. Definitely consider for a double game week. Morris actually captainable in a double game week because he's so involved. But yeah, fair assessment.
Yeah, I think they're bottom of the ticker in the next 6, aren't they? So it's going to be tough for Luton. I've actually quite enjoyed watching them recently. The Liverpool game, I thought they did well. Ross Barkley coming in, and Andros Townsend as well, a few blasts from the past. But yeah, I don't think from an FPL perspective, anybody's going to be looking at them right now.
Here's a player I am considering, if not this week, well, definitely not this week, I don't think, but for future weeks, because the fixtures are so good. And he has a good game week 18 fixture, and that's Solanke at Bournemouth. 6.4 million, 64% goal involvement. This is probably what you would expect for Bournemouth. He is very, very involved. No corners, 4 crosses, 6 goals out of his 12 starts. He plays, he scores, and that's the way he is. He's sort of a Watkins light, not in the sort of way he plays, but in terms of an FPL asset. Sheffield United up next, Gameweek 13. I think you're going to get an immediate return there. Then Aston Villa's high line, Gameweek 14. Crystal Palace, Manchester United, who are out of sorts. Gameweek 17, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Gameweek 18. Fulham in Gameweek 19, and then Tottenham's defence in Gameweek 20. The next 7 at least. I haven't even done it before, so I don't even know who's playing Gameweek 21. But for the you can get him in next week after that. He's just a sound investment, I think.
Yeah, I think so. They had a really tough start, didn't they, Bournemouth? And so nobody was looking at Solanke. We flagged him up about 2 or 3 weeks ago and said he could be one potentially to watch. He surprised me against Newcastle, although I don't think many people saw that result come in. But he's got those couple of goals now. Fixtures are great for a long time. He's a talisman, a talis lad, whatever you want to call it. He's on penalties.
Palace chap.
Yeah, Palace chap will have that. And so there's loads to like. I think there's probably Haaland, Watkins and Darwin. And then after that, I think it's Solanke. So if you're playing like a 3-4-3, I think that he's the perfect third striker in that setup.
Yeah. Next up, another even if you're struggling for budget as well, and you want a guaranteed starter who is scoring, Edouard at Crystal Palace. We have mentioned him already, but 62% goal involvement when he's on the pitch for Crystal Palace. No corners, as you would expect for the striker. He's playing up front. 8 crosses, though, he's put in. So there is some fluidity in their attack there. 5 goals he scored across 11 starts. I when I did this, I thought, oh no, what's happened with Eze? Has something gone wrong and my calculations gone awry? But I checked Eze. Eze is actually 30% goal involvement, which is still good, but it doesn't hit these sort of top echelons of this table. So he's not actually a talisman. It's Edouard for Crystal Palace.
I mean, yeah, I guess for Eze, it was earlier on in the season, he was taking a lot of shots, he was creating a lot of chances, but it wasn't actually turning that into that many returns. I think the hope is now that Olise's back and the attack's starting to become a bit more fluid, a bit stronger, creating more chances. But Edouard, I think for the next 3 game weeks, I don't think you want him beyond that, but for the next 3, I think he's a good option.
Definitely. So when we're talking our team reveal video, one of the moves I'm considering Gameweek 14 is to downgrade Watkins to Solanke, and that enables a Dingra to go up to Mbomo, who in Brentford's fixtures, whilst they've got Arsenal next, Gameweek 14 they've got Luton, Brighton and Sheffield United in that next 3, and then Aston Villa. So he's good to go for those fixtures. So that's definitely a move I'm considering, and others might want to if they've got a similar sort of setup to me. Isak is next, 7.4 million. He is the talisman of Newcastle. 60% goal involvement time he's on the pitch. He has been injured. He's only had 6 starts because he's been injured, but he's scored 6 goals. So he's on a goal a game. Just 1 crosser. He's the guy up front. He's the guy they're aiming for. Wilson is injured for the next 6 weeks. So I think someone in the live chat pointed out that he doesn't believe that Isak and Wilson are different people. It's the same person. They just sort of, one goes into the treatment room and the other one sort of in disguise, same person, comes out again and plays. But yeah, Isak, he's got no threat from Wilson. But as you said, his threat really could be from Gordon in the league with some tough Champions League games up. You imagine he'd be favoured for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's tempting, Isak. Newcastle's fixtures, Chelsea, Manchester United at home. Then they've got Everton, Tottenham, Fulham, Luton. The Luton game is in Gameweek 18, it's worth mentioning, when Haaland will be benched by most. And Nottingham Forest Gameweek 19. Good fixtures. He's a good player. He's the man. He's the talisman, isn't he?
Yeah, we just need a fitness update on him, I think, and see where it is. But those Champions League games, because they are must-win matches for Newcastle, that does concern me a little bit. He's absolutely going to play those games. So is there going to be one of those matches in the next 3, 4, 5 game weeks where he's benched for it for the league match? So I don't know. I like Isak a lot. I'm just not quite there with the pick just yet.
Okay, Hwang is next to 5.5 million. Goal involvement is 57%, pretty good, well over half. his goals. 3 corners he's taken, 5 crosses, 6 goals across his 9 starts. Yeah, I mean, with Neto out, yeah, Hwang's the one to get from Wolves, isn't he, in terms of attack?
Yeah.
And we mentioned those fixtures, got Fulham up next, then Arsenal, but then Burnley and Nottingham Forest all in the next 4. I mean, now is Hwang time.
Yeah, and I like the shout in the chat earlier about Palhinha being out as well.
Yeah.
So the Fulham fixture away suddenly is a bit better for him. 2 great home fixtures in a few weeks. I think Hwang, 5.5?
Yeah.
Great option, I think.
Yeah. Here's a striker that people have heard of, Haaland. He's been involved in 55% of goals. Considering Man City do have a lot of players who are scoring goals, even Rodri is scoring. They're very attacking. They score a lot, but Haaland obviously doing so well. He's had 13 goals across his 12 starts. So it's more than a goal a game. So he's scoring a lot. He's actually put 3 crosses in as well. I mean, there's not much more to be said about him. He's good. But he was, I think his injury was, he wasn't playing the last game of Norway's qualification campaign for the Euros, but that was seen as more precautionary. Is that the latest with him?
That's my understanding. I've seen a couple of tweets go out from sources suggesting he'll be ready for the Saturday match. Yeah. So let's just hope so, and we'll get an update on Friday in the presser, hopefully.
Okay. Next up is Awoniyi, and I'm going to pair him up with. I'm going to skip a place and come back to Salah in a second, and then we've got Alanga. So Awoniyi, 6.4 million, is also Nottingham Forest fixtures are very good. They got Brighton and Everton at home in the next 2. Then they got Fulham away, Wolves away, Tottenham and Bournemouth all up to Gameweek 18. I mean, that's a wonderful run of 6 fixtures. They're much better at home and away, but they've actually improved a lot on the road compared to last season. It's worth noting that they drew 0-0 with Brighton last season and hammered them after one of their cup games where they didn't rotate, and they should have done. Brighton should have to rest players, and so they've definitely got the beating of Brighton in them. So I would fully expect them to beat Brighton this time out. So Awoniyi there is 54% goal involvement and 4 goals across his 8 starts, so goal every other game. Alanga, under the radar, 5 million. He's a player I do like, actually. He's had 13 crosses, just had 6 starts, but he scored a couple of times as well during that time, and he's involved in half of his team's goals when he's on the pitch. I like them. I guess they're the 2 to go for from Nottingham Forest with their good fixtures.
Well, they've got Gibbs White as well, who maybe not be quite hitting the heights that he did last year in terms of attacking returns, or even whenever I watch him, he's not quite at that level. But they've got a few options. Awoniyi, good fixtures, like we say. Wood and Origi are back, so we might I think Awoniyi will start most games, but I think 70 to 80 minutes he will come off for one of those 2. I think I prefer Solanke over him, and that's why I might look at a midfielder instead. But Alanga at 5 million, I mean, Hudson-Odoi's out at the moment, isn't he? Yeah. So he hasn't got much competition on the left flank. Yeah, I don't mind him as a budget pick.
But both of those players are flagged, so we'll find out towards the end of the week how serious that is. Awoniyi's currently 75% chance of playing with a groin injury, so he could be out. And Alanga is also got a 75% chance of playing with a knock. So it remains to be seen whether they are out there. Yes. So obviously keep an eye on team news there. But if they are fit, they are good options. If you think Forest are going to score, they're going to get the goals. Salah's next. We've sort of spoken about him already. He, unsurprisingly, a Talis bloke for Liverpool. 52% goal involvement. But it shows that Darwin Núñez as well is also a good option there. Salah's had 16 crosses, 10 goals across his 12 starts. Absolute talisman there. But Núñez right at the bottom here, 40% goal involvement. I'll mention him as well. 5 crosses, 4 goals across his 6 starts. Obviously starting more frequently recently. So we've spoken about those 2 players, and I don't think it become a surprise they're talisman. Next up is Son at Tottenham. People were wondering whether he could be a Talis chap for Tottenham at the beginning of the season, but because he was playing out wide, but he's playing centrally. 43% goal involvement. He's had 9 crosses, 8 goals and across his 12 starts. He'll cost you 9.7 million. He's in a lot of teams already, and he plays Villa's Highline next. He's pretty much a good captaincy shout if we think Tottenham are going to score against Villa.
I think so. I do worry a bit about Spurs without Maddison and where that creativity is going to come from. They didn't look great against Wolves. I think they'll improve from that. But he's a one to monitor for me. He's not a definite hold for the rest of the year or anything like that. I want to see how they respond against Villa. And I think, you said the high line should suit them. I mean, it's kind of with Villa, it sometimes works really, really well, the high line. It's that risk reward strategy. And if it plays off on Sunday, it can be a real positive when we go and win the game, but it can sometimes get unlocked. And Elanga, funnily enough, had a bit of joy in the Forest game recently against Villa. So, and then it's City. Son does tend to do well against City. Again, he's another player who tends to score past them. But yeah, he's not a definite hold for me. I want to see how he plays on Sunday and then maybe take it from there, because it's a lot of money, isn't it? It's almost 10 million.
Yes, indeed. People are asking, they can see Mbomo's stats on here, 66 crosses. Is that a typo? I don't think it is, because I didn't alter it. I just copied the figures. If it's an error, it's within the stats itself. But I'm pretty certain that that's true. If you think about it, I mean, was 66 divided by 12? It's like 6 crosses a game. I mean, who's crossing? Who's usually out wide when they play through up front? It's Mbomo. And he's so involved, and he plays every minute.
Yeah, he's on a lot of set pieces as well.
Yeah, he's on a lot of set pieces. So I'm hoping it's not an error there. But
I'm going to just have a quick check.
It says he's on 36 corners as well. But we'll come back to him in a sec, because we've got. I'm going to mention Bowen next. So Bowen is on 8 corners, 29 crosses, and 8 goals. Across his 12 starts. He's scored pretty much every away game. He's my sort of default captain at the moment in my team, but he is flagged. But we're not sure. I'm getting mixed messages. Apparently he was back in training. He's waiting assessment. And Southgate said for England that part of the reason he didn't take him to North Macedonia was because he picked up some kind of small injury, but in training, but it was very much a precaution. They didn't want to have time to assess it. They just needed to get the players on a plane and over to North Macedonia, and so they just sent him back to West Ham. So it doesn't sound too bad, and I guess hopefully we should get something from Moyes, hopefully saying Bowen's fine, but he's back in training this week.
Yeah, my understanding was that it was more precautionary rather than anything too serious. But let's have a look. I mean, if he's fit, he's a great option for this week. He's a potential captain for some people, I think. I saw something else saying Kudus might be injured as well, or he wasn't available. So that's something to monitor as well.
Antonio is out as well, isn't he, for a number of weeks? So yeah, they've got problems if they are out. Danny Ings will have to play against his old club. If that is the case, or Mbama might play,
feels like quite an important press conference then this week to just see who's available.
Yeah, I don't suppose you had a chance to check those Mbomo stats while I was having a chat about.
I did.
Is it correct?
They are. It is, Joe. Yes, he has attempted 66 crosses, 23 of which were successful.
Okay.
That there are only 4 midfielders who have attempted more crosses this season. They are Gibbs White, Pedro Neto, unsurprisingly James Ward-Prowse, another West Ham man, and Bruno Fernandes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But in terms of successful crosses, I said that Mbomos was 23 successful crosses. No midfielder has got more than that.
Wow. Okay.
So he's actually finding the target with those crosses as well.
These are good stats. These are the stats where people are going, hang on, that can't be right. But yeah, it is. So that's why I'm considering him Mbomo in Gameweek 14, because not only is he a Talis bloke, and he's like a double. He's one of those Talisman tandems. I can't remember how to pronounce it. Anyway, he's like 2 talisman in one, because he is just he's according to these stats, he's basically just constantly shooting or trying to assist, just almost constantly. So that's the kind of power.
Great. I think that's why we're all looking at him. In Game Week 14, I think he's the best option. If you own somebody like Matoma, who's probably going to miss the weekend, I think he's the player you want to be looking at.
With 42% goal involvement, he is the talisman for Brentford. And just above him, with 43% goal involvement, for Manchester United, Manchester United's talisman, Scotland's star, McTominay, 4.8 million, overlooked by everyone. But he has scored 3 goals across his 6 starts. That says 2 things. One, if you are to get a Manchester United asset, McTominay's your man. The other thing is, don't get a Manchester United asset. If McTominay's the answer, that's the wrong question is, do I get a Manchester United asset in?
Yeah, I mean, it's largely because of those 2 goals, I presume, the late goals that he scored, the fact he doesn't play that often. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't think anybody's looking at United players right now, are we? I mean, that's my one overriding thought of the first kind of 8, 9, 10 game weeks was me holding on to Fernandes and Rashford and them not delivering. And I haven't really seen anything of late, even against Luton in the match before the international break, to suggest it's going to change anytime soon. But let's see.
No. Okay, and we've got the final 2 coming up here. So everyone in the live chat, have a think about some questions for us. We'll have a live chat Q&A after this. And do remember to put a question mark on it so I can easily see that it's a question. So just pile the live chat full of questions for myself and Tom. Next up is Watkins. Aston Villa's Talis Blokes, Talis chap is Ollie Watkins, 8.4 million. No, he's 8.5 million now because he went up last night. So he's even more expensive. 41% goal involvement, and he's taken no corners. He's just the guy people aim at. He's had a shooting coach this season, urging him to hit the target more. He's certainly delivering. So 6 goals across his 12 starts. This is Solanke level of excellence from Watkins. So I'm going to face a tough choice really in game week 14. But if it means getting Mbomo, Solanke I think is a good alternative to Watkins. But it will break my heart a little to remove him from my side because he's really good. I mean, you as a Villa fan must be good to play.
Yeah,
him.
I mean, you mentioned, Joe, the role, the way he plays under Emery is very different to what he did against Gerrard. He's working in smaller spaces now. There's not as much when he runs down the flanks. He's basically in the box where you want him to be, and it's working. I think he's a perfectly fine hold because I think that Spurs and Bournemouth are good games for him. We're not quite as effective away from home, but he can still score in those games. Then we've got the 2 really tough home matches against City and Arsenal, but they're at least at home. Mm-hmm. And then it's like game week 18, you want him for Sheffield United at home. Game week 20, you want him at home to Burnley. Mm-hmm. So I think that Watkins, I don't mind if you've got transfers or if you're going to use the money to upgrade in other areas to make a short-term switch, but you are going to want him back in a few weeks. I'm pretty sure of that. So.
Yeah, definitely. And the last name is Darwin Núñez. So he's sort of the second talisman, the deputy talisman for Liverpool behind Salah's 52%. And Núñez, the goal involvement is 40%. That was my cut-off here. And 40% goal involvement is classified as a talisman. He's had 6 starts, 4 goals. 5 crosses. This is great. These are great stats. And most of those starts have come more recently as well. So, he was rotated a lot. And pretty much every time he plays, he's so obviously the man that to shoot most often. And Klopp is always praising him at the moment, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember. Is he on your team at the moment? Is he?
No, I was really close to getting him in game week 10 for the wild card, but I went with a 3-5-2 setup instead of the 3-4-3.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great option. It's just with my setup, it's hard to get another forward in. It would have to be in for Watkins, and I'm not quite there with selling Watkins yet. But we'll see. I think he's a great option, Darwin.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, for those like me who are looking to save a bit of money to put into midfield, that you can go down to a Solanke or Edouard. But I mean, just on paper, a straight move for removing Watkins for a while is got to be Darwin Núñez, because in game week 14, so this would really be for game week 14, I'll be looking at that. He's got Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Crystal Palace away, Manchester United at home. That is a lovely run for a Liverpool attacker, especially Liverpool's form against Manchester United of late. Okay, let's have a look at some of these questions we've got in the live chat. Oh, got lots of ones. Mohammed asked why there was no Eze in there. I think I addressed that earlier. He was actually on 30%. So he's a Talis child. He's a mini talisman.
Well, I think if you look at Eze this year, he's only scored twice, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he's got a couple of assists, but he has been out for a while. So.
Martin notes no Rodri. Yes, Rodri's may appear spectacular when he scores the odd goal or assists occasionally, but it's Haaland's your man for Manchester City there.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's have a look at these questions then. Big Chief asks, hop on Darwin for Watkins, Game Week 15 and 18. We just mentioned that. I think I would actually do it Game Week 18. Game Week 14 rather. Game Week 14 is the time to get Liverpool striker in because they play Fulham at home. I mean that makes him borderline captainable if you're not going to captain Salah.
Yeah, because I think the Watkins has got a good fixture that week, but the fact it's away and Darwin's at Anfield, I think I would probably make the switch that week as well, 14, and then bring Watkins back in 18.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Big Chief, again, time to hop off Trent as a failed differential to free up funds for other moves. For who to go for example, Arsenal defensive cover. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a really boring move of getting Gabriel in for cash, and that's the move I don't want to do, but because I've been burnt by Gabriel Game Week 1. But I think it's just logical if you don't have an Arsenal player because whilst they play Brentford next, he might get a clean sheet, but I mean those eye-popping and Bomo stats suggest he won't. But then they play Wolves at home, Luton, Villa, trickier, Brighton, tricky for a clean sheet, and Liverpool. So it's a bit mixed in that little section. But then they got West Ham, Fulham. So I would say it's a mixed bag. But yeah, I think a cheaper. If you've got the money, Saliba's the one I would go for.
Yeah.
Just because you nailed on for starts, he's so blatantly their best defender. So he's good for bonus as well. Ben White is really good for bonus, but I think he's 5.8 or something now. So
he's gone up. Well, he was always overpriced, wasn't he, this year? So I think Saliba at 5.4.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to go for somebody different, I'd be tempted probably by Reece James, but I can understand why people wouldn't want to go anywhere near him given his injury record.
I can get Reece James, but it would potentially lock me out of getting Mbomo next week.
Yeah, so I mean it's quite tough fixtures from a defensive point of view for Chelsea the next 3. Maybe it is more sensible to wait till game week 16 for that.
I would do that. There's no way I'm 3 weeks ahead of a good fixture run for Chelsea. I'm going to trust Reece James's legs to survive.
I get that. Yeah.
Okay. Gary asks, bench one of Cash, Adogi or Bulldog. That's tricky because you pretty much want to bench all of them or get rid of. I would get rid of one if you can, because you probably want to bench all of them. A Doggy, maybe I would play, but you're not going to get a clean sheet there. Bulldog.
I would just bench Baldock, I think. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a home game, but Bournemouth, I think, would probably score past them.
You would bench Bulldog, but I wouldn't want to play Cash and a Doggy. I'd want to be benching at least 2 of them.
Yeah, because I think Cash, I mean, people have said, it's an away game. He might play right wing advance, but I don't see it. The way McGinn's been playing recently, he's probably been our best player on the right. So, I think, you could get an attack in return, but I think it's unlikely. I think Villa will score as well, which reduces Udogi's appeal.
Yeah.
And Baldock's not even been playing as a wing back recently. He's been a centre back. So I mean, none of them are great.
I'm playing Porro. I'm not expecting a clean sheet, but he's on so many set pieces, and he could even play a bit more advanced as well.
He's got a goal on him as well. Whenever I watch them play,
so Porro, I'm looking for attacking returns. Doggy less so recently, but I would play a Doggy, get rid of Cash, bench Bulldog. And then you've got a Doggy would then be your weakest defender to play. Okay. Brian asks, he's got 1 free transfer, nothing in the bank. Should he hide Matoma on the bench for 2 for a couple of weeks. If he's injured, Matoma's we think is going to be injured for game week 13. That's all the report. That report came from Andy Naylor from the Athletic. He used to be the Brighton Evening Argus's Albion correspondent. So he knows. So it's very, very, very likely Matoma's out for game week 13, or just move him on for someone. I think if I had Matoma, I'd be tempted to move on.
I would.
And to get whichever you don't have of Mbomo, possibly an early move for Palmer.
Did he say he didn't have any money in the bank?
He didn't have any money in the bank, so he's got to go.
Mbomo's going to be difficult.
Oh, sorry,
I think,
yeah. So Mbomo, Eze, he could go for Hwang or Palmer. I'd be tempted by Hwang, because the fixtures are so good for Wolves and it's quite low owned still.
Or drop down to Palmer, and then maybe you can upgrade somebody else to Mbomo, or get him in the week after from game week 14. Because I do think you want Mbomo. Maybe you could bench Mitoma this week if you've got a good first sub, and then switch Mitoma to Mbomo with another move, enabling it next week as well. But I think he's the key person to own from 14, Brian Mbomo. So I try and work your plans around that.
Yeah, a field FPL, should he go Diaby to Mbomo this week or wait a week? I would wait a week because Diaby against Spurs, I would go for that. And Bomo's playing Arsenal, just on paper they're better, and then it sort of flips around. Even though Villa are away to Bournemouth, I do think Mbomo's fixture at home to Luton is definitely better in game week 14. Yeah,
and we play in Europe on Thursday. Now that's a big game. So if Diaby plays Spurs and then he plays in Europe, yes, he'll probably start at Bournemouth, but we'll probably see what we've seen so far this season, where his minutes are reduced a bit, and he's coming off on 70 minutes, 75 minutes. So, that's just a bit of a concern if he plays the next two.
Okay, Tom is holding Tom O'Connell. That is not you. Is holding Watkins, or maybe you are holding Watkins until game week 27. That's not wrong. I mean, he's a definite season keeper. I mean, he's just a reliable scorer. So if you've got other moves to make, you don't need to move the money or anything. Then just keep him. He's good to go for the rest of the season, to be honest. Any news on Moreno? We've had sort of a Moreno update earlier from. But Moreno's back in the squad, but
he's fit.
But
I don't think he'll be coming straight back in because of Luca Dean's been playing so well.
Okay, so that's the news there from Moreno. There was Martin asked, keep Trent for Fulham home match. Oh no, I don't think that's a question. I think he's just answering someone else. Okay, I think we have. I've lost my train of thought. So many questions here. Okay, well, I'm going to have to sort of speed answer some of these. Okay. How many Talis people is the correct number? Is 5 Talis people enough? Says Scott Speed. I would go for as many as you can, to be honest. All of those players that we mentioned, I'll put the table up again. I mean, these are all good. These are all. I mean, this is Salah, Son, Bowen, Mbomo, Watkins, Solanke. These are all massively regular scorers who are either in attacking sides or are the main attacking threat in their side. So
and a lot of them are nailed as well, which is the kind of players we want heading into the festive period. You want those 90-minute men, and players like Solanke, Salah, Son, Bowen. Mbomo, they're going to start most games and play 90 minutes. So.
I think 7 if you can. 7 out of your 8 attackers, because you can't play 8. Is that including
McTominay, Joe? Or?
Yeah, McTominay's in there. He's number 1. He's the top one. Keith asked, do you get Son or Saka in at the moment? That's actually a really good question for those that perhaps don't have one. I think if I had neither now, I'd just get Saka.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. I think it's just it's a price issue there. I think you can use that money elsewhere. I think they're both good.
Spurs fixtures: Villa, City, West Ham, Newcastle. Without Maddison, I don't think you're going to captain him in any of those. Well, if you're going to captain him against Villa and you really want a captain this week, then maybe there's more of an argument to do it. But apart from that, I don't think it's going to be a consideration for captaincy.
Martin asked, why not transfer Dawson, if you've got Dawson, to another Wolves defender? Yeah, we mentioned Nori. Definite. I mean, there are definite ones. Wolves are third in the fixture ticker over the next 7, according to Fantasy Football Scout season ticker. But also, yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to sort of make a move for that sort of cash replacement. But yeah, the boring one is Gabriel Simicas. The sort of more exciting ones, Toffolo at Nottingham Forest, is a player that I don't know why. I think it's probably because I just like that he's called Toffolo, and I always think of that Bob Marley song, Buffalo Soldier, when I think of him. But yeah, but
Well,
is that a reason
Forest
to transfer someone in? Because it sounds like
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, Forest are just good at home though. They got 4 out of the next 6 at the City Ground. I don't know if Toffolo is 100% nailed.
No, I don't
there's
think
quite a few fullbacks, so I don't know. But I don't mind a Forest defender for that run.
Yeah. Omar asks, is the one you better than Solanke? I think they've both got really good fixtures, and I would say not, because the one is 75% flagged at the moment. So I think Solanke's just got better fixtures over a longer period, and they're much of a muchness in terms of goal scoring, I think.
Yeah, and I think he'll play more minutes, Solanke. I do think when you will be coming off on 70, 75, when those fixtures get very, very compact and there's 3 games a week, that's when I'd worry for him. Whereas I think Solanke, I think he's a bit more durable and he can probably play them more.
Yeah. Michael Scott, Nketiah to Solanke or Edouard. I mean, we mentioned both those players at length. Both
Solanke I'd go for.
Depends on your budget. I mean, I would go for Solanke if you can. He's got,
because it's a bit more of a long-term hold, isn't it? Because we did say about the Palace fixtures that they're good for 3. That's do you want to be making another transfer 3 weeks down the line?
Definitely. He's in a 3-4-3. He's got Watkins and Haaland as his other strikers. So yeah, I think that'd be good. I think that'd be look like a good team with one of those two. But yeah, Solanke would be the one we go for if you can. Antonio, would you guys bring Bowen in from -4 if he is fit? I consider it if you're going to captain him. I think a -4. If you don't have a captain, if you don't feel any of your players are captain, Bowen has scored in every away game and he plays Burnley next. So he's captainable. So possibly,
I always feel a bit more comfortable. I always feel a bit more comfortable with a -4, like you say, if you're going to captain the player. But we need a fitness update, don't we? We need Moyes to come out and say, yes, he's playing, he's ready to go. If there's any doubts, and it also depends on the player that you're taking out as well. You know, have they got any potential, or are they not of any use this week? And if that's the case, then you might be more tempted to do it. West Ham fixtures are good, aren't they, for a while? So
we'll answer these as quick as we can. Yemi, is it crazy to have both Solanke and Edouard along with Haaland as your forwards? No, I don't think so at the moment. But it would be in a bit. So as we said, Solanke's absolutely fine for the number 6 to 7 fixtures. Haaland obviously is great, and Edouard. Just to reiterate, he's got Luton, West Ham, Bournemouth, but then it gets tough at Gameweek 16 with Liverpool, Man City. And then Brighton. That Brighton fixture traditionally is Crystal Palace win 1-0 with their one shot in the game, and Brighton have about 400 shots and don't score. That is what will happen. That's your worst case scenario for this Brighton fan. Diaby to Palmer, asks Hind. I wouldn't do it yet, but I would certainly consider it in Gameweek 16, perhaps.
Yeah, what do you think of? Because I've been looking at Chelsea players, Joe, because they obviously play Brighton at home the weekend after. Do you think that could be the time for Palmer, or would you wait till 16? Because they play. They play Brighton and Man United after this week.
I mean, Palmer looks good. He's on penalties. He's getting penalties, and those returns. But I don't know if he's getting. I think if we ignore Price, is he the best Chelsea attacker to get? And I wonder if, in terms of FPL terms, it might just be Sterling could be the better one, who would just simply get a brace in a match, got more open play threat than Palmer. I think I need to see Palmer a bit more playing for Chelsea, and as an FPL asset. I mean, obviously he's a great player, but as an FPL asset as well. So I personally wouldn't do the Diaby to Palmer just yet. But Gameweek 16.
Yeah, I think Diaby in 13. I think I mean, if you've got Watkins as well, it probably doesn't feel ideal playing two strikers away at Spurs. But if there's going to be a week to do it, now's the week to do it, given that Romero's out, Van der Ven's out, Maddison's out. It's got, I mean, I can see it being a high scoring game that. I can see both teams scoring a couple of goals. So.
On a similar theme with Chelsea, Tom O'Connor asks, when do we trust Nkunku? Now, he's back in training. I've seen pictures of him in training this week. Really good fixtures coming up, and it's game week 16 onwards. I mean, hopefully it's perfect. Works out perfectly. He comes back at some point between now and game week 15. We get to see him. And then game week 16, we can make that move. And in which case, he could be a bit of a differential then. If he's looked good but hasn't scored in game weeks 13 to 15 and plays, that's perfect. Because then you can get him in, because that means he's due a goal. That means we'll start seeing him on the goals imminent table. But if he just comes on in game week 14 and just scores a hat-trick, then the cat's out of the bag then.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see where he plays in that Chelsea team. Does he play up front instead of Jackson? Gallagher's been playing really well in that kind of 10 role, so I don't think it's a given that Nkunku just takes his place. No. Does he go a bit wider like he did in pre-season? But then you've got Sterling and Palmer playing there. So, yeah, I think that's a wait and see. I don't think you need to jump on board too quickly. I think you can just see what Poch has planned for him and then decide in game week 16.
Roynish asks, should he upgrade Martinelli to Saka or get someone like Palmer in 2 weeks? I would wait. I mean, I think if you've got Martinelli now, you've made your Arsenal bed and lie in it. And I think these are still potentially good fixtures for Martinelli. And I know it's something you spoke about earlier, and we'll talk more in our team reveal video this week. FPL Big Head, Edwards or Zuma or Pinnock for cash. Now, I ordinarily I would say perhaps Pinnock. I had
I would.
Henry earlier this season before he got injured. I did enjoy owning a Brighton attacking, or rather a Brentford defender that has potential of attacking return. Pinnock has a goal in him, but he misses game week 18, so that's another player you have to bench. And I haven't seen many teams that can withstand benching Haaland and Bomo and the Brentford defender, and the rest of the team is brilliant. So I would watch out for that.
I think the fixtures for Brentford are better, aren't they? As in Luton, Sheffield United, and then after the blank, they're really good. I mean, as an Areola owner, it's been painful watching West Ham defend this year, so I'm loath to recommend one of their defenders, knowing that what I've gone through. But that blank is a big thing for Brentford, isn't it? And it might be tricky to accommodate Haaland, Bomo, and Pinnock on the bench that week.
Yeah, because many people, myself, I've got Lamptey, who probably won't play, could do. So that's my 3 bench sorted with if I get Bomo in. Game week 18. Kwana asks, would you bench Bomo or Palmer? My answer would be neither. They're both on penalties. And I'm very reluctant to bench a penalty taker. Out of the two, bench Palmer, I guess, away at Newcastle.
I'd do that. Yeah.
Adja asks, start Archer or Palmer. That's more interesting. So that's something, I mean, I'll be thinking I've got a Dingra and I could play Archer. Sheffield United are rubbish, but they are at home and they are playing Bournemouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm quite happy Archer at first sub. I'm quite happy to play him. I think marginally I'd prefer Palmer over Archer.
Yeah. I don't think, it's not, if you've got Archer, it's not the worst week in the world to play him, is it? And he plays Burnley after that as well. So if you were an Archer owner, you could actually, if you had to, play him for 2 weeks in a row.
I don't mind. I mean, I think I've benched all his points. I think he scored a brace on my bench, and he scored recently and got bonus.
It's against Everton, wasn't it? The brace, I think it was in the early kickoff on a Saturday, and it was quite soon after his move, and the messages were flying in. I couldn't quite believe it. I think he was first on my bench as well.
Right, and just one more question. Final one. Autumn asks, cash to Saliba. I have the money, he says, or she says. Yes, I think Saliba is probably the best one to get. if you don't need that money elsewhere and you can afford it. I'm just priced out of that myself, and it would price me out of getting a Bomo, so I'm not. But if you've got it and you don't need that money, I think Saliba is the best one to get because he's nailed. You might get gold.
Yeah.
He's certainly.
And Arsenal, Arsenal are very much. They've changed the way they play this year. I feel more confident back in their defence and their attack, funnily enough, at the moment. So I think Saliba's a great pick.
Yeah, I do as well. Excellent. Thanks so much, everyone in the live chat. You've been very lively. And I was just distracted by a comment from Taylor Johnson, who says, "My aunt just says she thinks you're cute," which is a bizarre thing to
love
read.
that. No.
Yeah, I'm available. No, sadly, I've been snapped up by my long-suffering partner many years ago. But thanks for that amusing comment there. Thanks everyone for joining us in the live chat. Thanks, Tom. Me and Tom will be back a little short later this week, today or a bit later, whenever it's scheduled out. We'll record it shortly. Team reveal video, so do stay tuned for that. We're going to be looking at the Way Day stars in that one. I'll be back later in the week on video and podcast with Neil to look at the latest team reveal, and obviously Tom's got absolutely bags of articles coming out this week for you all.
Yeah, we'll be working on the differentials later today, and then scout squad, scout picks, all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It feels like ages since we've been at this stage. It's been a long international break, hasn't it?
No, and in particular, thanks everyone for all your Talis people, Talis chaps, Talis blokes, and all of those Talis new words for us there. Take care. See you soon. Good luck in the game week. See you later.
Cheers, Jake.